She lifts the toy phone to her ear, expecting the usual bedtime call. But the hallway light clicks on instead. His shadow fills the doorway. Keys already in his hand, the other arm swipes them into his coat. The jingle swallowed by the closing door. Her outstretched fingers hover over empty air, the silence thicker than the hallway walls. The latch clicks once, twice, too loud for the fragile calm she had hoped tonight would bring. He slides the door closed with the ease of someone who has done this every night. The hallway light softens the foyer. The coat hook still holds the same two scarves, the brass key rack jingling as he hangs his coat. Down the hall, the kitchen timer hums, a steady reminder that soup is simmering long enough for the kids to finish homework. She wipes a hand across the counter where flour from morning bread still clings. The toy phone lies face down on the rug. Its screen reflects the lamp's glow, waiting for the bedtime ring due in a few minutes. Upstairs, the bunk beds creak as one child shifts. The other whispers the rules of their spelling game. They need no words to know when the spoon clinks or when footsteps pause by the stairwell. Those pauses are the chapters of their evenings. The hallway clock ticks in its usual rhythm, marking another ordinary turn. The hallway light buzzed as Sam padded toward the kitchen after homework. The front door was cracked shut, and the laugh track from the TV downstairs was the only sound until the door handle upstairs turned. The bedroom door clicked closed, a low hum of air conditioning slicing the silence. A muffled voice spilled down the stairs, clipped, urgent. "No, not tonight. The meeting is tomorrow. The rest drowned as the door swung shut. Sam froze at the bottom of the stairwell, breath held. The whisper of footsteps on carpet, the scrape of a chair, Mom's presence condensed into sound, pulsing through the walls. The word meeting flared in Sam's mind like a warning light, but no explanation followed. The hallway felt too narrow now, every creak a threat. Mom emerged from the kitchen with a mug of tea, eyes still wet, shoulders drawn tight. She set the mug on the counter with a clink, then hid her trembling hands under the sink. She lifted her chin and glanced toward Sam, lips pressed together. "Homework done?" she asked, voice low, as if afraid noise would break something fragile. Sam nodded, eyes fixed on the chipped bowl of cereal. There was a pause where neither moved. Then Sam stepped toward her, words tumbling out. "Who was on the phone? You said the meeting was important." Mom's jaw clenched. She took a step back, fingers brushing the counter. "Sam, I said not now." Her tone cracked, and for a second the facade slipped. "Why do you keep listening?" she asked, panic flashing in her eyes. Heat pooled in Sam's stomach, pressure building. "Because it feels like everything changed. You leave the room, you come back. It's like you're carrying a storm." Sam reached out, touching the edge of the counter, not quite touching her. Mom set the mug down again, the movement sharp. She sat on the stool, breathing hard, finally letting her shoulders drop. "I'm trying to keep things..." Her voice shook. "I promise I'll explain when it's over. Just, please trust me tonight." Her fingers wove through the mug's handle, knuckles white. Sam looked at her, searching for the moment when calm might return. For a heartbeat, the silence stretched, taut. Then Mom slid the mug across, pushing a small square of chocolate toward Sam. "Eat one. Watch a silly show. Tell me about the math one more time." Her attempted smile fragmented before it landed, but her hand kept the chocolate steady. Sam picked it up, jaw tight. The sugar anchor eased the tension infinitesimally, enough to breathe. "Okay," Sam said, shifting weight from one foot to the other. "But you're not saying meeting, not even just..." Sam's voice softened. Promise? Mom looked up, tears threatening to spill. I promise I won't say more tonight. But I swear I'll tell you something soon. Her hand hovered over Sam's shoulder before lowering again, hungry for the connection and afraid to break it. Sam nodded, the chocolate untouched. The air buzzed with the unspoken. The meeting hung like a question mark in the hallway, but the door stayed closed. Mom rinsed her mug at the sink, water steady, while Sam returned to the homework desk, glancing at the stairs once before lowering the pencil. The house held its breath until the kettle clicked off, a small comfort. Routine reclaiming its space, for now. Sam kicks off his school shoes by the door, then steps into the kitchen with his math workbook tucked under one arm. Jordan is already there, rinsing carrots in the sink, and Alex slides in from the hallway with his coat still on, the collar damp from the drizzle outside. The radio hums quietly on the counter. Sam sets 3 plates along the table, the clatter louder than usual because every movement feels watched. Jordan wipes her hands on a dish towel and says, "You said you'd be home by 6. You're making a habit of showing up after I start the timers." Alex adds the chicken to the skillet with a measured stir. "I already told you, there was a delay at the office. It's the same project." "Same project?" Jordan spits the words. "You keep saying the same thing, like repeating it out loud will make it true." She lifts the towel and slams it onto the counter. A few drops jump onto the laminate. "Why does it feel like you only tell me part of what's happening?" Alex's shoulders stiffen. "Because the other part is not for dinner table speculation. I'm not doing this again." Jordan crosses her arms. "Doing what? Leaving me to read your calendar? Leaving me to believe every time you say working late that I'm supposed to nod and keep quiet?" Alex turns the skillet off. The sizzling stops between them. "I'm telling you what I can tell you. If you keep hunting for what I can't give, there's no trust left to rebuild." Sam shuffles beside the island and, without meaning to, knocks a stack of napkins. They scatter, white squares fluttering across the floor like little flags. Jordan looks down, then back at Alex. "We used to just figure it out together," she says, voice lower, but still cutting through the room. "Now I'm supposed to believe I'm mistaken when you disappear." Alex steps toward her, but before he can offer anything else, Sam lifts a napkin and hands it to Jordan. "Do you want help with the carrots?" he asks. The tension tilts instantly toward something else. Jordan accepts the napkin, and for a breath she cracks a smile so small it could be missed. "Thanks," she says, touching Sam's shoulder. "Go up and start your homework. I'll bring you the last piece of chocolate later." Sam grabs the bowl of napkins and heads toward the stairs. He glances back once, meets Alex's eyes, and sees the set jaw that hasn't eased. The argument doesn't resolve. But as Sam walks away, the clatter of his steps steadies, carrying the small reassurance that he's still part of something. If only for now. Sam pushes his fork around the rim of his cereal bowl while Jordan moves a steaming pan from burner to counter. The kitchen hums with the exhaust fan, and for the first minute, no one speaks. When Jordan's shoulders tense and their mouth opens to answer the phone, Sam blurts, "Is it going to be another one of those meetings?" Jordan's hand stays on the pan handle, thumb rubbing the stainless steel, and they finally say, "It's just work, kiddo. I said I'll tell you later." Sam's fingers tighten against the ceramic bowl, and the silence stretches. He drops his gaze as if quiet were a fault he has to repair. He slides the bowl toward the sink and reaches for the stack of napkins in the drawer, humming as if the sound will keep the air from snapping. "Do you think Alex will be home for dinner?" he asks, carefully putting 2 napkins under the plate Jordan sets on the counter. Jordan doesn't look up. "That's between them and the meeting. they say, voice clipped, eyes narrowed toward the stove. Can you just help set the table? Sam glances over his shoulder, sees the tension in Jordan's jaw, and whispers, "Did I do something wrong again?" Jordan lets out a breath, a half laugh that never reaches their eyes. "No," they say. "I just need to finish this now." Sam keeps his hand on the napkins, feeling the stillness as punishment for asking the question. Jordan drops the pan onto a trivet a little harder than needed. The upstairs clock chimes 6:15. Sam places the utensils on the table, one by one, eyes on the shadow where Jordan's silence sits. A vibration from the counterphone startles them both. Jordan snatches it up, shoulder hunched, and mumbles, "Talk to you soon." The voice on the other end is muffled but tense. Sam hears a name he doesn't understand, and the words "can't stay" before Jordan hangs up. They stare at the wall, then at Sam. He swallows and ventures, "Will you tell me when Alex calls?" Jordan's hand lifts, pauses over Sam's shoulder, then drops back to the counter. "I'll tell you when I can," they say, softer now, and hand Sam a small square of chocolate from the drawer they had saved for a better day. "It's okay to keep helping," they add, eyes on Sam. The silence still there, but the hand on his shoulder gentle enough that he lets out the breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Sam unwraps the chocolate slowly and tucks it near his plate. It tastes slightly bitter, but he licks the coating and nods toward Jordan's shoulder. The night settles. The clock ticks loudly in the quiet, but he keeps arranging the utensils. Every time Jordan looks away, though, the silence feels like something he has to fix, and he stays beside the table, waiting for the next word. The kitchen smelled of garlic and something bitter in Jordan's voice, the burners hissing while he chopped onions with sharp strokes. Sam sat on the stool by the counter, knees curled, pretending the pile of clean dishes was homework. The front door creaked open. Mara slipped in with a brown paper bag of groceries, her jacket still damp, and she didn't smile at Sam. She dropped the bag beside the island and leaned close to Jordan so the knife's clack wouldn't carry. "I saw Alex again," Mara said, voice low enough that Sam had to lean forward to catch it. "It's not casual. They were at the café on Elm, but neither of them were alone. There was familiar laughing, the way you and I know." Jordan's hand paused midair, the knife hovering over a pearl onion. "I didn't know what to do with it. I wasn't going to keep pretending it was nothing." Sam's fingers froze around the plastic fork he had been fiddling with. He wanted to ask what Mara meant, but hearing the names made a knot in his throat. He wasn't supposed to know this part yet. Jordan didn't look at him. He glanced between Mara's eyes and the pan on the stove. "I appreciate you telling me," he said quietly. "I'll handle it. Stay for dinner?" The tension crackled like a flame. Mara hesitated, then nodded, pulling out one of the stools. "I just didn't want you to keep explaining away absences. I already heard a call you didn't take." Sam pushed off the stool and wandered toward the living room, pretending the scribbled homework sheet required a closer look. The tablet that usually sat on the coffee table blinked a notification, and he grabbed it by accident. Mara watched him quietly, then leaned over the counter and set a small, wrapped square of chocolate beside his plate. Sam looked up, surprise crossing his face. "Just take it," Mara whispered. "You did help." That tiny reward, the sweetness, the shared glance, felt like a promise that someone saw him, even if nothing had changed yet. Jordan nodded once at Mara, then returned to the stove. The silence between them stretched tight, threaded with the memory of Sam's interrupted homework, the hidden text on the tablet, the fact that Mara's words had shifted the air in the kitchen. Sam's hands trembled slightly as he set the fork beside the plate, the chocolate sitting untouched for a moment before he unwrapped it slowly. Sam was stacking board games in the hallway when he noticed the cardboard, marked with Alex's messy handwriting, lined up like soldiers from the living room to the front door. Clothes peeked out of one, a pair of Jordan's work shirts folded but not neatly, half draped over the lid. The air smelled of sweatshirts and something heavier. Late-night conversations, the quiet after the kitchen argument. He could hear Alex humming under his breath, the tune wrong because the words kept breaking on the edges. Alex sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by more boxes, a pile of his own papers, and a zip-top bag of Sam's half-finished art supplies. When Sam stepped into the doorway, Alex didn't look at him right away. His fingers trembled as he sealed a box with tape. "Hey, kiddo," Alex said after a breath. He paused. The tape dispenser squealed, and he rubbed his thumb where the paper cuts had been. "I'm moving out tonight. I'm going to stay at my sister's for a while." The words were soundless in a way, like a long syllable stretched thin. Sam's shoulders went rigid. "But you promised you'd wait for Alex to come home," Sam blurted, the board games wobbling in his arms. "Jordan said you were just working late. Where are you going to sleep?" His voice cracked, the apology drafted by worry and rehearsed in the mirror. He hadn't caused this, right? He couldn't stop the questions that had been building every time he saw Jordan staring at the sink. Alex stood, the boxes clattering slightly. He crouched to Sam's height and tucked a strand of hair behind the boy's ear without touching the rash on his wrist. "I am still yours," he said. "I'm not leaving you." The words sounded almost clumsy, as if lifted from a speech someone else had written. "I'm leaving the house because I can't. Because I need space without making this worse." He lifted Sam's chin with one finger. "I love you, Sam. I'm sorry for not explaining sooner. I'm sorry for everything Jordan's been trying to hide." Sam's breath hitched. "You promised Jordan you'd fix it." He dropped the board games, and they scattered across the floor like broken promises. He reached for Alex's hand. "You can't go. What about bedtime? What about breakfast?" The words tumbled faster than Alex could answer. Alex slid a small box off the stack and handed it to Sam. It was the one Sam had labeled, "For later." Inside were the two unfinished paper cranes from the night before, their wings creased but still capable of folding. Alex touched Sam's fingers briefly, warm, all at once so gentle that it hurt. He set the box on the table, then held Sam's shoulders and pulled him into a hug, tight enough to make Sam's ribs ache, too tight to let go easily. "I'll come by after school," Alex whispered near Sam's ear. "I'll be back for soccer. He shut up before the words could tangle further. "I'll call, I promise." Sam let go first, letting Alex straighten up. When Alex walked to the door, Jordan stepped out of the bedroom just then, arms folded, eyes raw. Jordan didn't speak, just watched as Alex picked up the last few boxes. Jordan's lips pressed together like a fist, and when Alex nodded toward Sam, Jordan's jaw moved, but no sound came. Alex opened the door. The hallway light stretched his shadow down the stairs. Sam stood in the doorway, gripping the empty board game box, feeling the cool air from outside sneaking in. Alex bent, pressed a hand to Sam's forehead for a second he didn't have, then slipped outside with the boxes. Jordan didn't move. Sam watched the door close, the quiet click a verdict. Jordan stayed by the doorway as Sam slid the empty box back inside and sat on the floor. He wrapped his arms around his knees and looked back up at Jordan. Jordan kneeled slowly beside him. But the silence between them had weight, like something heavy left in the room to remind them that nothing would simply return to the way it was. Sam could hear the muffled sound of Alex's car starting outside, a dull vibration under the floorboards. The betrayal sat in the corners of the room this time. Not a rumor in a text bubble, but a person closing the door behind them. The cardboard box still on the living room floor, Sam slid the unfinished crane from its tangle of paper. Fingers moving the same way he'd watched Alex fold wings, he tucked a corner, smoothed a crease, and set it beside the open bag of rice for dinner. Jordan's footsteps thudded through the hallway, and Sam lifted his chin without speaking. His own voice seemed too loud right now. He plugged the quiet with work, rinsing the wooden cutting board, lining up the knives, keeping his hands moving so the silence couldn't stretch like it had that morning. Jordan appeared at the counter carrying the skillet, shoulders tight. "Carrots are by the sink," he said, eyes on the stove. There was no invite, no crack in the distance. Sam grabbed the peeler and started shaving orange strips, tapping the blade gently, making little piles of curls easy to sweep into the compost. "Do you want me to set the table?" he asked, scanning for a place to offer something steady. Jordan didn't look up. "Later," he muttered. The words landed sharper than they should have. Sam held the tension, bracing for the quiet to close in. He didn't fill it with questions, but it pressed against his ribs anyway. When the silence grew too heavy, he pushed a plate toward Jordan. "Will Alex call?" he whispered, softer than the steam curling from the pot. Jordan slammed the lid back down, the clang making the pans jump. He spun, face flushed. "Stop!" he snapped, loud enough that Sam's shoulders jerked. "I'm not talking about it right now. Just finish the carrots." Jordan's breath was hot, and for a beat, Sam could hear nothing but the ticking of the stove's pilot light. Then Jordan exhaled, chin trembling, and set the lid on the counter with both hands. "Thanks for helping," he added, quieter, picking up the plate Sam had pushed forward earlier. He slid it toward the sink and touched Sam's wrist with a quick, hesitant squeeze before turning back to the stove. The contact was small, but it kept the moment from snapping shut. Sam returned to the table, sat on the edge, and placed the crane between his fingers again. He didn't force conversation or push for explanations. Instead, he lined up the forks, switched on the small lamp that hummed like a distant heartbeat, and watched the steam blur the window. No sound came from the front porch beyond the hum of the refrigerator. Just a silence Sam felt coming long before it landed. He breathed slow, readying for the next pause, the next day when no one would answer him, the next night when he'd have to fill the quiet himself. The crane sat there, half complete, a reminder that some promises needed more patience than he'd been taught to give them. Sam opens the kitchen window wider than needed, letting the last heat from the day fall off the sill, and sets the paper crane there. The origami still smells faintly of cardboard and of Alex's hurried hands, the creases unfinished where a small finger used to pause in a question. Jordan lingers at the doorway, not speaking, tension bunched in the way he clutches the peeling paint of the frame. He gives Sam a look equal parts apology and surrender, then walks away without a word. Sam watches him go, then turns back to the bird. The breeze nudges it, and it shivers as though remembering early flights. He lets go. The crane drifts against the sunlight, never to touch his palm again. The house breathes, and the silence answers him with his own small shadow, reminding him that some departures stay.